As I said, today I'll be taking you, and again, this is James, I'll be taking you on a quick overview of what WorkHands is, and then really spending a good chunk of time introducing you to the concept of partner-based recruiting. So what it looks like, how some employers are using it today, some of the challenges to get going, and overall why it can be valuable, and why we have focused on this as a new recruiting channel for employers here in California and across the country. Mark will jump in from Laney College to share the school's point of view. He's actually in a somewhat unique position in that he's connected not just with one school at Laney, but across a network of schools here in California through an organization called CACT, C-A-C-T. Then towards the end of the call, Steve will show you a demo of what this actually looks like for some of the companies that are already using WorkHands tools. And from there, we'll get into Q&A and get on with your lunch. So let's do it. So a quick overview on WorkHands. We're a relatively new network of people and organizations in the skilled trades. So we allow workers to come online, build out a profile that includes a portfolio of pictures of projects that they've completed, licenses and certifications that they've earned over time, as well as their past work and educational experience, and lastly, a list of the tools that they either own or know how to use. We put these tools out into the world about 2 years ago in the fall of 2013, and in the past 2 years, we've grown to around 30,000 members nationwide. More recently, in the past 6 to 9 months, we've been working very closely with organizations, both trade schools, community colleges, and training programs on one side, as well as companies and employers on the other side to see what sorts of tools we could offer to those groups to get more out of a network like the one that we'd start to set up. And so that's pretty much catching you guys up onto where we are today. So let's start with the problem. This shouldn't really be news to anyone on the call. Every couple of months you see a article come out in a major U.S. news organization about the skilled trades gap that essentially says that it's increasingly difficult for companies in manufacturing, construction, and other technical skilled trades to find the skilled craft workers they need in valuable roles that are coming online as an entire generation of workers retires. Increasingly, we've seen this as a strategic issue at companies, that it's being elevated to the highest level. In this case, you're seeing that some manufacturers are losing up to 11% of earnings. We're seeing in some places that candidates are down 20 and 30% across the board, and that just generally what was once taken for granted, that you could find workers when you need them, has started to become much more of a concern. When you zoom in from that macro level down into what this actually looks like on the ground and in the trenches of people trying to find workers out there, you start to see what it actually looks like and some of the pain and challenges that people are facing. So broadly, as we've talked to employers, and we've had conversations with over 100 employers over the last few months, we hear that people are just running out of levers to pull, that they really don't have any new channels or any new resources to find candidates in certain positions. That last quote there is one that I often come back to. It's from a staffer out in Kansas. We often ask employers to quantify exactly how hard it is to find workers right now on a scale of 1 to 10, and she told us that it was a solid 11 out of 10. The ironic thing here is that from the worker's point of view, it's also somewhat difficult. We've talked with workers who, their method of finding work is to just pound the pavement and go shop to shop to shop, trying to hope that someone has an opening and hope that someone can bring them on in a hire. It's largely the same way that things were done 20 and 30 years ago. What we've heard is that folks are calling it not just the talent gap for the skilled trades gap, but it's also a connection gap, where you're seeing it just hard to make the connections between workers who are out there and the companies who are looking to hire them. You can see this in some of the channels that a lot of recruiters use to find workers. So these are what we've seen as the big three channels in those conversations we've had with employers. Word of mouth is a great system until it doesn't work. You kind of have a steady flow of candidates, and then all of a sudden it dries up. This is especially pronounced in good economic times. So when the economy is down, it's not too hard to find people who are pretty good and looking for work. But with the economy picking up, this network isn't as strong as it could have been in the past. Aggregators and Craigslist get you a lot of candidates, but you'll spend a lot of time going through a number of candidates who aren't a good fit or who don't necessarily have the soft skills for what you're looking for. And then lastly, you can always go to staffing firms, but you will, in that case, pay for what you get. Broadly, we see sort of three things that companies are looking for. They want a channel for recruitment to be scalable, cost-effective, and deliver quality candidates. But generally, you can only get two of the three of those when you're looking to make a hire. And so this is where this concept of partner-based recruiting comes in. What if there was a fourth channel to open up a new pipeline of candidates? Like I said, some companies are looking at a candidate flow down 20 to 30%, but haven't necessarily tapped in to what already exists out there is a network of dozens of community colleges, trade schools, workforce development programs, apprenticeship groups, really a ton of organizations that are out there here in California and across the country that are spending their time finding people and creating workers with the sets of skills that companies are looking for. What we mean by partners is kind of what I just talked about there. So these are community colleges with departments in the trades. These are public and private workforce development groups that are out there looking for individuals who are excited to either start a new career in the trades or pick up a set of skills that will allow them to move up in their career, or organizations that are partnered with companies specifically to try and create a new flow of candidates. The general idea is that this is largely untapped. In that conversations we had with a couple hundred employers or 100 or so employers, we found that very, very few of them look to partners as an active channel for candidates. That the best ones out there were getting 20 to 25% of their candidates from schools and organizations that are actively creating and pushing workers into the trades. It was much more common actually to hear that employers were getting 5 to 10% or even zero of their candidates from what could potentially be a valuable channel. One of the other things we've seen here is that this concept of candidate flow is big, but that there's also added benefits when you partner in with schools and organizations. As one example of that, we've heard companies that are actually able to directly influence curriculum and get to a world where they're able to create students and create workers who are more closely matched with the jobs that they're hiring for. So why aren't more people doing this? Why aren't more companies looking at this sort of existing network of schools that are out there? We really saw two big issues. So first is that just getting started is hard. It's hard to know what schools and programs are actually out there. To say, how do I find the schools that are out there? How do I know what programs they have? And how do I actually know the right person to talk to? That when you say, all right, great, there's a school that I know of, I think they've got a machining program or a welding program or a fabrication program. How do I find the correct person to actually reach out to start to build that relationship with? This is a challenge that we heard from a number of companies that were out there looking to hire. Secondly, okay, let's assume we've now found this organization. Let's assume we've gotten there. It actually takes a lot of real, actual work to stand up and build these sort of relationships that last in a meaningful way. This second quote here is sort of indicative of that, okay, we know the school, we know the program, but it's possible that you aren't necessarily connected in with the right person, and that at the end of the day, you might not have as strong access as you might want to have. What we saw was that some of the bigger companies who were more invested in this actually had individuals whose specific job was to reach out and maintain relationships across a network of these programs. So we saw some companies had heads of campus recruiter or heads of technical and trade and vocational recruiting programs. What we're going to show you today in a few minutes when Steve gets on and shows you a demo is how WorkHands can help. The short story is that we spent a lot of time talking with schools and training programs on one side and employers on the other side. And what we developed over the past 6 to 9 months was a set of tools that have been built specifically to increase access into this existing network of colleges and organizations for companies who are, increasingly hungry to hire workers who know what they're doing. We took what we heard in terms of best practices and said, what would it take to make that more accessible? So what you're seeing here is a map of organizations that are, for example, in the Los Angeles area. What Steve will show you in a little bit is some more information on how you can get deeper relationships with some schools, how you can post your jobs to their specific networks, and just generally have stronger relationships with a lot of the programs that are out there. Like I said, we're just starting out with this. We've got around 50 employers who are on this new set of tools as of last month when we unlocked this in around mid-May. We're bringing on a couple of new employers each day. And as members of CMTA, you guys are getting essentially early access to this beta version of the product that'll be out there. I'm going to turn it over now to give you some more perspective on partner-based recruiting in terms of what this actually looks like from the school point of view. So here is Mark Martin from Laney College, who can tell you a little bit more about why, from a school's point of view, having these kinds of relationships with companies and employers is increasingly beneficial.
Thanks, James. So my name's Mark Martin, and I work in the community college system in the state of California. And the state of California has funded some positions that focus on advanced manufacturing, and that's the area that I'm working in. My specific area, I work regionally in the Bay Area with the 28 community colleges around connecting the programs with industry and figuring out ways to get our students good jobs and helping industry find the employees that they need. And so a couple of years ago, James and Patrick, who co-founded WorkHands, came to me as I was working at Laney College, which is in Oakland, and we're talking to me about this new tool that they were developing. And so I have been kind of since then working with them, advising them and understanding how the community colleges work and how they may be able to help the community colleges. So that's my role on what to do. And really the thing that I found, and my background is in manufacturing engineering before I came into the community colleges, was just how complex an organization the community colleges are for those of you who have worked with them or tried to work with them. And a way that trying to figure out a better way that we can connect community colleges and industry or strengthen the connections that are already there. And so that I saw the value in what they were trying to do and the value in bringing the students on kind of as partners in this and uploading their information and getting it out there and getting in front of an industry. So that's kind of what I've been helping them with, and to see that this is a way to connect you more directly with the schools, which even if you do have connections there, you may not have connections throughout all the community colleges in the area, a way of kind of optimizing that and the way you make those connections and the way you really get connected closer with the students who are going to become your employees. And so this is, I found to be an excellent tool. A lot of room for, that we're working with industry to figure out all the needs that you have out there. And I found it very useful from the community college side.
Thanks, Mark. And one of the things that we sort of pride ourselves on here is continuing to work closely with both the school partners and the employer partners that we have. So we will actively talk with the companies that we're working with and the schools that we're working with to just check in and see sort of what are the next sets of things that we could be doing to make it even more valuable to these groups that are already on board and on the network with WorkHands. Great. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Johnson, who's going to actually take you through what this looks like from employers who are on board with WorkHands and using us to recruit out of the growing network of community colleges and trade schools on the site. While he's doing that, there's a URL on screen here, workhands.us/employers. If you'd like, you can actually get started and get set up with your own company at that website while Steve is talking, in which case we can be able to answer questions for you directly. Without any sort of further ado, I will now pass the presenter role over to Steve, who will show you what this looks like.
Thanks, James. Wait for my screen to load up here. And that URL that James just showed you, workhands.us/employers, will take you to this page. As you can see, it's an extremely simple setup. You just need your first name, last name, your email address, and from there you'll be asked a couple real simple questions just to get started. And really, there should be no friction there. But of course, if you have any questions, either on this call or after this call, feel free to get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to answer them for you through setup. So let's go to an example of someone who did this just Friday. I like this example because this is a gentleman who reached out to us saying, I have a real big event coming next week. I need a lot of exposure very quickly. Not even sure who you guys are or what you do. Can you help me? I was able to give him a call right back, and he went through this process here through Employers where he entered in some very simple information. And once he did that, he was given his profile and his homepage that you see right here. What we'll do too now is go directly to the recruiting tools that or the employer tools that we were speaking so much about, and really showing you exactly how this partner-based recruiting and how this communication actually works. So when Tasman came to me, he says, we have this big event coming up. It's going on throughout California. We want to be able to reach out to as many people as possible. So I told him all about WorkHands and everything that James just covered, and then we got him started right away. From here, he was able to, Friday afternoon, just minutes after signing up, create an announcement that then reached out to all of his partners. Now, this is a guy who hasn't really worked with technical schools or vocational programs or anything like that in the past, so this was really a discovery process for him. This was something that was pretty easy to do because he was able just to go to this little plus sign right here, click Invite Partners, and I will enter example location here. We're right here in San Francisco. And you can see that he's given a list of colleges right here in the area that he's able to partner with, and he's able to do this throughout the state of California. Just to give you an example, I'm going to show you, let's go ahead and add another partner. This is going to be a college that we created just for demonstration purposes. It's Ocean Technical College. And when he wants to partner with them, it's just as easy as this. He types it in, he clicks it, and he gets to see the main contact person we have there that was really the driving force for WorkHands and for getting their members, their alumni, and all their staff on board. And when he clicks Invite, it just sends a notification over to James, which is the same James that we're speaking to today, and lets him know that they're now partnered, and really starts beginning to open up those lines of communication between the two organizations. So I'll back out of that, but you can see just how easy it is to invite partners. Now, this is what he was able to do just in one day. Discover all these programs that have a relevant automotive program, which are the type of employees he was looking for. So when he sent that announcement out, it went to all of these organizations, including Laney College, which we've just spoken about. And you can see here, it shows the partnership that was formed. He also has access to see some of the activity that was going on lately at Laney College. And we can even see where that announcement went that he sent out on Friday. It's right there on top, gives all the pertinent information that the students and any alumni would like to see, and really gives them all the information they need to come be a part of his event. From this, he can also, with his partnership, he can also take a look and search through Laney's members. So this is something where if he knows of a student that he wants to connect with, for instance, he might have heard of Kevin Carpenter for maybe connecting with Mark at some point, or even just through a discovery process, he can connect directly with Kevin and actually begin sending messages and getting direct contact with them and really starting to form a bond that possibly could turn into a great career for Kevin and finding a really good candidate for him. If we go back to his recruiting tools, he doesn't just have access to all his partner groups, but he also has access to all the members of WorkHands. So he can do this strictly by searching, and let's do an example. So let's try for machinist, and let's go for location. Let's try for San Francisco. So here we can see it comes up with a list of people on WorkHands that these tags fit, and we can see here that Jack's got some pictures. We can even preview his profile and see some of the stuff that he's been working on. So Tasman can now not only connect with members that are members of the organizations that are relevant to him, but also with all the members on WorkHands. If he wants to post a job, he can do that from right here, and he can also do that from the red plus sign. And here's where we'll go, say machinist, and we'll put key qualifications. We'd like them to have, their NIMS qualifications. It's going to be in Ontario, California as a location. he can enter in a wage, he can have that go directly to his email, or he can have it to a job site that possibly his company has set up. When he goes further beyond this point, it then gives him the option to either post site-wide to everyone, so this is going to reach all members of WorkHands, but let's say since this is a local position that he's trying to fill, he can actually toggle that off and just say, these 3 organizations have the most pertinent departments that are really training the members, or really training the students for exactly what I'm looking for. They have great alumni that are active. That's what I want to post this job to. From there, he would click next, and he'd get a preview of the job that or the job post that he just created, and this will get posted to those member networks or site-wide as whichever one he would pick at that point. The real difference, and what I've heard from speaking with a lot of employers and recruiters, is they typically have to rely on what they call post and pray. So they're just hoping to post on Craigslist, Indeed, and Monster, and all these aggregators, and they're hoping for the best. Sometimes some are extremely honest and are the first ones to tell us, hey, we have no way of searching, we have no way of narrowing that very wide pool of candidates that we get coming to us where, they may be great workers and they may be great guys, but they're not actually suited for the exact skilled positions that we're looking for. So this is a way to narrow that pool, and it's a pool that's getting ever deeper every day. And this is also a way to get with those members to where, or partner with those organizations to where they're finding that exact candidate in that skill set, and this isn't getting just blasted out everywhere and hoping for the best. And they're also able to go search directly through those partners that they bring on board, and they're also able to search across the entire network exactly for what they want and not just have a broad spray. So that's what some of these features look like. I'm more than happy to go through all of this in much more detail with all of you. You can see also there's some details about the plan that Tasman's on, as well as a brief breakdown of what we have available to employers. And this is something, again, that we're happy to talk with you guys about one-on-one and walk you through it and even give you a review on what we've just discussed today. But all this can start if you go to workhands.us/employers. And like I said, get signed up there. We'll verify it from the back end and get you started.
Great. Thanks, Steve. This is James again. I'm going to go ahead and reclaim the presenter role and open it up to the group in case anyone has any questions. Again, you can just type these right into your chat box in the join.me window. You can just type in any questions that you might have. I'm getting a question now. I'm actually being asked, how many partners are you allowed to have on the site if that's limited in some way? No, you are not limited to have any number of partners. You can have as many as you want. One of the things that we designed WorkHands in this system around was to make sure that we wouldn't be getting in the middle of any existing relationship that was out there and attempting to charge for it. So Mark, for example's relationships with a number of employers, we want to make it actually easier and stronger for him to grow that relationship and give more access for students to those companies. So as far as we're concerned, companies having more partners is a very good thing, and you should increase the number of partners that you have. In this case, we really want to incentivize those kinds of relationships and make it easier to do. One other thing to mention here, Steve briefly just showed you what the plans look like for companies who want to use WorkHands for recruiting. I should mention that through some hard-fought negotiations with Rob and Gino, we've actually worked out a 50% discount for CMTA members who would be willing to join within the first couple of weeks as we launch here in June. For more information on that, you would have to be speaking to Steve directly, who would take you through how that actually works in terms of setup. Another question coming in, can the students apply or can the employee apply for a job on the WorkHands website, or do they have to go to the company website? That's a great question. You can actually apply directly on WorkHands. If you set the job post to email, as Steve showed you before, that application will come straight through to your email, and what you'll see is a summary of the worker's skills and capabilities in his WorkHands profile, and then the option to reach out and contact that person if you're interested. We found that this is a better system for smaller shops who might have, someone whose only part-time job is recruiting and just wants to see who's coming in. Secondly, for larger companies like the Shell Oils and the Teslas of the world, they have, in most cases, their own applicant tracking system and fairly robust application flow on their own website, in which case we just direct applications or applicants into that website. Great. Yeah, sure, Mark.
This is Mark again. So one of the things that I've, James mentioned earlier, Steve, the idea of the word of mouth is a way of recruiting. And one of the things that I was kind of surprised at when I got into the community colleges was that there wasn't always that connection that was happening between industry and the community college. It was just, difficult to form those connections with the faculty and even once you locate them, how do you maintain that? And I think that one of the things that WorkHands is being able to do is to kind of actually increase that, even though it's an online forum, that personal connection with the faculty and the companies. You can find the faculty easier, you can get in connected with them, and it helps maintain that kind of personal connection, which I think is really important with the word of mouth. And one of the things I discovered is that even, these students are there, there's the internet out there, they know how to use it. One of the best ways we found in the community colleges is that it ends up being those more personal connections that either happen because of how the faculty are working with the recruiters at the different companies, and so, how can that be strengthened? And that's, I think, one of the ways that WorkHands has been able to increase those connections.
Great. We're getting a question coming in. Do we actually have any trade associations signed up as a partner to help make connection between the member workers and employers? We actually do. So one association that came through last week was the HTech network of employers. This is through, I believe it's Haas Machine Tools. They've got a network of schools across the country. The head of that organization came in and essentially added as a partner all of his associations and groups, and to all of the schools that he works with, rather. And so now when he wants to send out messages or post information about open jobs, he can do that. In this case, for CMTA, they're actually listed as a member, and they can be one of your first partners on this as you sign up. So you'll have partnerships through different schools, as well as with CMTA as an organization. Great. One last logistic reminder, we have been recording this webinar, and we'll make it available to Rob and Gino, as well by extension to all of CMTA. Not seeing any more questions coming through, so I think what we can do is actually finish up, give everyone the rest of their lunch hour back, and again, if you're interested, feel free to reach out to Steve or myself. We can talk you through how it works to get set up on WorkHands, or come through workhands.us/employers. Hope that we provided some useful information for you. So for myself, James at WorkHands, I want to say thanks again to Rob and Gino at CMTA for helping us put this together. Thanks to Mark Martin for coming out and spending some time talking about what this looks like from the school's point of view. And thank you to all of you for taking a little bit of time out of your lunch to come and hear about partner-based recruiting. Hope you all have a great afternoon, and look forward to speaking with you soon.